sometime I need to get a better setup than I have. I suppose when I move, I can do that. Okay. All right. So for now, I have my phone balanced on a pillow. I don't like this at all. But let's see. Try balancing the pillow. All right, I'm going to be doing this with. Are you familiar with Vino Veritas? Well, if you're not, you are now. Just look up Vino Veritas because context clue. Context clue. This should help. Yes, I prefer dark. Okay, so hopefully this connection is going to be better than last time because this one's not relying on Wi-Fi. This is relying on my data. I'm just using up all my data doing the streaming. It's okay because I'll have unlimited data in the next week or so. All right, so I'm going to read chapter 4 of Space Force. So there is a friend of mine who goes by the name Hannah Sachs, as Sachs, right? Hannah Sachs. Hannah Sachs is a Facebook friend of mine who is a troll, who is an awesome troll, and decided to send me a troll book. Was loaned me so graciously this favorite book of his. Hannah is a he. I'd wondered for so long actually how old Hannah actually was, because Hannah is generally a girl's name, but the behavior of Hannah indicated that Hannah was a guy. I later learned that Hannah's real name is not Hannah Sachs, but I will not tell you what it is because Hannah was so kind to loan the book to me. So that merits a bit of confidence, I think. Anyway, let us begin. Chapter 4, Haley, which is spelled Hale. Imagine that. The women's barracks was never overpopulated. It was built to house 200 women, but Space Force, at its short-lived pinnacle, only employed 50 women. That's been whittled down to 2, not including the colonel, who resides in a separate building on her own, like she's Quasimodo, sans the bell tower, and the hunchback. I know she's just being antisocial on account of not wanting to be here, like everyone else on this damn base. Had even a handful of them seen the real potential Space Force presented, we might still be funded, might still be pushing the envelope of what is and isn't possible. Instead, we'll go our separate ways and live mediocre lives. While in my mind and language, while my mind and language are often filthy, I believe in higher power. I don't think she'd want us to accept mediocrity. I don't mean that everyone needs a dream of space or scientific breakthroughs or challenging the whole world. Just that everyone should do what they love and do it as best they can, whether you're surfing, teaching, or collecting trash, and want to be, holds your head high and kick ass. Sorry, and want to be, hold your head high and kick ass. Despite this positive outlook, I've yet to consider what I would do if my dreams were suddenly unattainable. The reality of the situation has left me shaken. I sit in my perfectly made bed, looking at the room's meager decor. I've got a photo of my parents on the desk, but the walls are free of art or any kind of personal self expression. The closest thing I have to decoration is an American flag pen resting on my desk beside a pad of paper and a tablet, laid out in neat order like I'm billing. Really, I just wanted to impress anyone who might inspect the barracks. Now, I know that there is nothing I could do to avoid this fate. You can't organize shit nuggets on people. It's a fun word. And make people want to step in them. The worst part is that while everyone else saw and smelled steaming feces, I saw a deep fried Snickers bar covered in hot fudge, the chance of a lifetime. The ever present voice of positivity inside me says to buck up, that employers will clamor to hire someone with a track record like mine. I was the only female pilot in Space Force. Within a year, I would have piloted the Rex into orbit. Freaking orbit. God damn it, I shout, and then I perform a perfect spinning hook kick that decimates my wooden desk chair, embedding the top half in the wall. Chest heating with anger, I stare at the chair and reel in the raw power that broke its body, and will, seeing it seeing it as a metaphor for myself. Feeling meta, I sit on my bed, cross my legs in a lotus position, and close my eyes. After several deep belly breaths, I start to relax. My mind moves to the past, to simpler times, studying Shaolin techniques. I would wake early, join my class on Kaliwai's Anini Beach, and then spend an hour surfing, despite having been based on Portsmouth Island for 3 years, surrounded by sandy beaches. I have yet to repeat this morning ritual. Have I lost myself? I wonder. Am I blinded by ambition? These questions and all my anger begin to drift away as I visualize negative energy flowing out of my body. Shaolin Kung Fu is often about controlling emotions, about releasing or repurposing that energy. Recently, I've dealt with stress by adopting stone sarcasm, which is admittedly fun and more aggressive outlook on physical confrontation. My sensei would not approve. Then again, if the entire kung fu world saw him as the butt of a joke, he might be a little pissy too. The others think I'm naive, that I don't see it. But I watch the news. I know what people think. I follow poll results. I see the Daily Show jokes. Trevor Noah is a bitch ass punk, but he's not wrong. And fine, I watch every day, but I stream that shit online and skip the commercials. Deep breaths. I think trying to let my anger drift away, but it just keeps on coming, bubbling to the surface like perpetually erupting volcano, expanding the borders of my home state. I count to 10 as I breathe in, and then 10 again as I breathe out. Focused on the numbers, my anxious thoughts drift away, tension melts from my muscles. This is what I need, I decide in a moment of clarity. Kung Fu is my future. I can go home, open a dojo, be Mr. Miyagi to someone too young to recognize my face from Trevor Noah's damn Space Force parody, where I was played by Ronnie freaking Ching, who is a man and a Malaysian, which is insulting on so many levels. The man thinks he can say anything because he has pinchable cheeks and an adorable accent. It's infuriating. I'm at least an Olivia Munn, if she'd stuck around for more than a few episodes. We have vaguely similar features. My forehead scrunches as I remember how Stone decorated his echo. Breathe, damn you. In for 10 seconds. Out for 10 seconds. In for 10 seconds. Out for 10 seconds. In for 10 seconds. A gentle knock on the door is followed by a subtle pressure shift as someone opens it uninvited. What? I shout. I open my eyes to find a stunned Maggie Ching, wide eyed and biting her lower lip. I suppose we're friends. Being the only two women left on the team, we kind of have to be, but I can tell she's perpetually afraid I'm going to vent my frustration on her, which I would never do. That's what Quaid is for. Sorry, she says. I thought you. I thought I heard you say my name. Damn. I must have been mumbling my thoughts aloud. I shake my head. I don't think so. You definitely said Ching. She steps further inside the room, spots the ruined chair, and stops. I think maybe, given our new circumstances, you're remembering certain events from the past year. Maybe someone who shares my name and poked fun at you. I let out a sigh and scooch over on the bed. I promise not to kung fu you. She sits down beside me, and after a moment of silence, I ask, "You're Chinese." "My parents were Chinese," she says. "I'm an American." I mean, racially. Racially, I'm a human being. Homo sapiens, if you want to get. I don't. I take another calming breath, which helps put me at ease. And lets Ching know she's not helping. "Why don't you study Kung Fu?" She says, mulling over how to answer, not because she doesn't have one, but because she doesn't want to set me off. In the end, she opts for the truth, which she always does. That's why I like her. Because I'm not a stereotype. FYI, your species is Homo sapiens. Your race is frickin' Chinese. Chinese is a nationality, and like I said, I'm an American. I was born in Boston. If you want to get old school, scientifically racial, I'm technologically mongoloid. Isn't that an insult? If you're not a mongoloid and a racist, maybe. And FYI, you're a mongoloid too. Hey, you see? Racist, right? You're a member of the human race. That's the only race that matters. I just got mentally kung fu. I've picked a senseless argument with a superior mind. Ching holds 3 doctorates, despite being only 35. Astrophysics, astrobiology, and art therapy. Why art therapy? Who the hell knows? She likes to paint, I guess. Then again, maybe it's just to keep her from being a different kind of Asian stereotype. Of course, the slight Boston accent does all that on its own. Oh, I should have done a Boston accent. Jesus Christ. Someone give me warning. I swear, her PhDs are really just making up for the occasional pack the car slip up. She's done a good job hiding the accent, but it comes out when she's stressed. Oh, well, then maybe that makes sense. Which, strangely enough, she's not. "Why aren't you upset?" I ask. We just got canned. MIT offered me a position with tenure. Unlike most of the country, they were excited about what we're doing here. Well, some of it. They want to continue it for non-military applications. Of course they do. The news uh, simultaneously depresses and pleases me. Ching works as hard as I do. At least one of us will be rewarded for our efforts. I pat her knee. "You deserve it." "If we ever need a test pilot," she says, "I know who to call." Her pixie dust of hope flitters over me and then falls right past. Pretty sure my career is over. I'm heading home. Then, what are you doing here? By yourself? There's no reason to stay under the radar. We've got the place to ourselves. Why not get wild? I raise an index finger. You aren't coming on to me, right? "Get me drunk enough and I might," she says with a smile. She tugs my arm. "Everyone else is in the fishbowl. We should go too. Say goodbye." The fishbowl is our recreational lounge. Big screen TV, foosball, ping pong, all the traditional stuff bought by and for the brosifs of the world. But she's right, and thanks to her social anxiety, she won't go without me. I allow her to pull me out of the bed and to the door. I look back at my room, still feeling like I should pack, but knowing I have so few material objects that it will just take minutes. I can do it in the morning, I think, and then follow Chang toward the exits. And the man I really don't want to say goodbye to. I just need to take I just need to make one stop on the way. Oh, I suck at reading so much. All right, 1 second. Just a quick swig of this lovely Irish drink. Okay. Hannah Sachs, I hope you appreciate me reading this book for you. I would rather read Dresden Files. I'm serious. I would actually much rather read Dresden Files, but I'm not sure if Jim Butcher would appreciate that. All right. Space Force. Chapter 5. Stone. I'm not going to do different voices. I really don't want to do different voices. It gets really annoying. Whiskey Tango Bravo, this is Stone Castle. I have deployed in the AO and am en route to the LZ, requesting a sit rep ASAP. Baloney cojones, do you copy over? Uh, what? Bruh, this guy is whack. This guy, Taylor says into his headset, is your commanding officer, Maggot. You will respond to him with all the deference he is deserved. Yo, these guys are straight up nuts. Baloney cojones sounds like he's a white suburban teenager gaming from his bedroom. That he has yet to use a racial slur is something of a small miracle. He's probably a nice kid in person, but the anonymity of online gaming loosens people's tongues. Unfazed, I address the other member of our four-man virtual unit. Second wind, can I get a sit rep and a hard copy over? It's second world. What? I say, scanning the list of screen names on the bottom left of my PC's monitor. I see myself, Stonecastle Tailor, aka Player We 2, a call sign I still don't really understand, and Second Worlds. Copy that, Second World. Apologies for the verbal transgression. What does that mean, Second World? It's a novel I wrote. Google it. Who hasn't written a novel these days? I asked Taylor with a roll of my eyes, and then I toggled my mic. Copy that, Second World. Now, can I get a sit rep ASAP? Over. Shh. Alright, copy, Second World says. Contact southeast, 300 meters. Four Tango's moving hard on our position. And over there, three have reached the LZ and have taken cover. They have eyes on. Ambush is likely. Recommend a flanking maneuver to secure the LZ and then deal with the second team. Kill zone is 50 meters out, 10 seconds until it shrinks. Over. There's a pause and then a shh. Good man, I say, smiling. Second World might be a writing hack, but he gets my brand of gaming. Maloney takes notes. You could learn a lot from a soldier like this. Eat my ball sweat. Stow that shit, soldier. I shout. Hump into the LZ, flanking maneuver. Second World, you take point. Baloney, if you go AWOL or FUBAR this mission, I will personally ensure you are KIA. IRL. Oh, that's funny. What the fuck? Baloney Cojones says with a nervous chuckle. He's young and is now confused, unsure about whether or not to be amused or intimidated, which is gold for my gaming stream. Despite having a million plus subscribers, no one knows who I really am or even what I look like, but I enjoy jumping into multiplayer games with Taylor and making people uncomfortable whilst delivering the win for Team Stone Castle. Abbreviate that shit, soldier! I shout, crouching down beside my teammates on screen. We're all dressed in the ragtag gear of men and women dropped onto the battlefield, forced to scrounge for weapons, armor, and miniskirts. Over. Shh. WTF, Maloney says. Over. Shh. Well, 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 look at that. You can teach processed pig balls new trick. A loud chiku report is followed by a string of pubescent cursing that makes it hard to track where the shot came from. Baloney Cojones was just taken out by a sniper, which is odd because we're currently crouch walking through a small gully. I can't see any players ahead or behind, and there is no line of sight on us from the sides. Stone, Taylor says, leaning closer to his monitor, squinting at distant pixels. I know, I tell him. We suspect the same thing, and it's bad news for Team Stonecastle, though it could make for big video view numbers, especially if we come out on top of this. Pick me up, he says as he crawls toward us on his hands and knees, health slowly draining away. Saving him would remain stationary for 8 seconds, and this will likely be over in the same amount of time, for better or worse. Negatory, I say. No time. Second World, flank right with player we 2. Try to draw their fire while I GQ. Taylor yanks his headset off as his on-screen self drops to his hands and knees, helmet destroyed by a magical bullet capable of cutting through the hillside. Damn Chinese hackers. When playing on a public server, a good 25% of our games end like this. Death at the hands of Chinese hackers who can see through walls, auto aim, run super fast, turn invisible, no clip through terrain, and take a shit ton of damage without flinching. They're easy to identify as Chinese because the internet cafe is preferred by the country's gamers auto-assign random, unpronounceable names like XXIIZPIXXZZ123. Always a prolific number of X's. No idea why they bother tacking on the number, like there are 122 other XXIIZPIXXZZ players who came before. Flanking, Second World says, already halfway up the jungle hill, despite the odds being stacked against us by software designed to alter the gaming experience. I respect your aplomb, soldier. I strike out to the left. Even if I can drop just one of them, it will be a victory. GQ! I'm hit, Second World says. Man down! Over! Ksh. Unlike Tailor, the Second World guy is staying positive despite being unfairly butchered. I make a mental note to friend him in-game and then lean out from my hiding spot behind a palm tree. I scan left to right and see nothing but digital jungle. Stone? It's Tailor beside me rather than in my headset. I glance at the screen and see the enemy crouching and standing again and again over his body, rubbing his virtual nether region in my compadre's face. No one teabags my friend. On my screen, I turn and open fire, full spray. Bullets strike and kill Malone Cojones and player We 2. While friendly fire warnings flash on my screen, the enemy XXX SRI ZZ XXX in 30 or IN 34 fires a single shot, not even looking at me. Chicoo! I fall to the ground, dead, along with my teammates. Captain Teabag wastes no time rushing over and granting me a POV display of his ass, crouching over my head. China number one! He shouts, China number one! Stone? It's Tailor again. This time I look at him rather than at the screen. He's not looking at the game. He's looking behind me. He points over my shoulder with a look of, oh my god, you are so screwed in his eyes. Assuming there is some kind of general standing behind me, I swivel around in my chair, prepared to tell him to sit and spin on something uncomfortable. I'm being discharged. I'm not a soldier anymore. I don't take orders, and I'm sure as shit I sure as shit don't care what anyone in uniform thinks of me. Not anymore. At least that's what the 4 beers in me have to say about it. My bravado disappears the moment I look up into Haley's shrunken paper eyes, and then I scan downward to the scantily clad body of Olivia Munn in full Psylocke regalia. Haley finally noticed that the head of my Alexa cutout was hers rather than Munn's. My heart pounds. I try to hide it, but I'm mortified when I look up into Haley's intensified dark brown-eyed stare. I can explain, I say, wondering how I'm going it. Probably doesn't matter, of course. Haley has become one of my closest friends and confidants, like we're two of the Golden Girls. Obviously, she's Blanche Devereaux, and I'm that saucy tart Sophia Petrillo. And I guess we're elderly lesbians in this fantasy. Whatever. The point is, we're close, but not quite close enough, and we'll never get this chance. Come tomorrow, we will go our separate ways, and all I will have to remember her by is a cutout of her head on Olivia Munn's body, whispering sweet nothings about the weather and my grocery list. But first, can I have that back? I reach my hand out. She looks down with a raised eyebrow that says, eat shit and die, bubonic plague. I withdraw my hand and sink into my chair, unaware of the continuing stream behind me, broadcasting the Chinese hacker humiliating me and my current conversation to 1,500 stream gazers. I see that you're angry. You taped my head on Olivia Munn's body, she says. You're damn straight I'm angry. She lets me stew in buzzed nervousness for a good 5 seconds. Then she motions to her body and says, at least I'm a Tia Carrera. When she smiles, my nervousness bubbles out as ridiculous sounding laughter. Oh man, you got me, but really, Tia Carrera, you're dating yourself. She shrugs. Wayne's World was my favorite movie when I was a kid. Tia Carrera is also the logical choice, Ching says, stepping out from behind Haley, clutching a 12-pack. She is Native Hawaiian. Thank you, Sergeant Smarty Pants, I say, pointing to the bruise. That for sharing, or are you going to drink them all, lose your mind, and go streaking through the parking lot? Because I'm not sure which I'd prefer. Sharing, she says, looking stern, but then she gets a gleam in her eye, the likes of which I've never seen in a person with an IQ over 120. But the streaking is still on the table. She heads for the couches where Billy and Quato are watching Megaforce, a classic, and we think the partial inspiration for Space Force. Haley hands the paper doll to me. We came here to party, try to keep up. With that, Taylor turns on some childish Gambino and starts gripping in his seats. They can take Space Force from me, but they can't take my groove. The grand finale Space Force bash has finally begun. Sorry, officially begun. I don't know why I changed it. Only Jones is missing, but I doubt she would join us even if we promised a somber mood and to pretend we enjoyed her presence. I rise from my chair, doing a white man's jig, still blissfully unaware that the stream is still live and a number of people tuning in to listen is ticking harder by the second. Okay. More beer. Hooray, beer. Guinness is what's for dinner. Okay. I know this is a boring book, and I've got zero people watching because it's a boring book and because no one wants to listen to someone read, right? Only lonely people, I suppose, want to listen to other people read because they want to feel some affection. But this is no ASMR. This is Space Force. Chapter 6 Haiti. Good lord, I think that my eyes are melting. Taylor says, we've just finished watching Megaforce for the second time. I've never liked the movie. It was too far before my time to enjoy for nostalgic reasons. It's like a dose of the 80s mixed with shrooms and speed, but alcohol makes it better. We're seated on the array of couches, lounging back, enjoying each other's presence fully. Perhaps for the first time, with the pressure of active duty removed, we've relaxed and really let ourselves go. Our true selves go. Billy is actually funny, capable of quoting any movie ever made. Even Quaid has some qualities, including more compassion for marginalized people than I would have thought possible. Appalachia, where he grew up, is near and dear to his heart. It's unfortunate that we couldn't have done this before. The camaraderie of the night would have gone a long way to forming a more cohesive unit, but not even that would have saved us. We've been walking around with toilet paper stuck to our feet for years, while the military branches have been laughing at us, and the world at large has parodied us. Not even a string of movie nights could have overcome that kind of negative energy. I lean back into Stone, his arm casually around me like we've been a couple for years. He hasn't made any overt advances. All I've really been feeling from him is affection, which is welcome and again probably too late. In 24 hours would be half the world apart, me returning to Hawaii and him staying on the East Coast. We're out of brews, Quaid complains, checking all the empties on the kitchenette table and then the small fridge. We are well and truly lacking in alcoholic beverages. Stone raises his hand. That's a problem I can solve. What's a problem you can't solve? Billy asks. Stone snaps and points at him. Exactly, you mustache wonder. You're sauced, I tell him. He smiles at me, but it's more earnest than drunk. Just having a good time. He motions with his head for me to stand. Join me? In response, I smile and stand, waiting for him to lead the way. We will return post haste with liquid brain melt, Stone declares. Take your time, Taylor says with a sly grin directed at me. I roll my eyes. This wasn't my idea. In fact, letting Stone lead me out of the room in front of all to see, after being all cozy on the couch, feels like a high school level of cheesy, blatant showmanship. Like when Jake Pinella led Lucy Bresnahan beneath the bleachers during a varsity basketball game. For weeks, it was a joke that the buzzer sounded like Lucy moaning. Wasn't so funny a few months later when her baby bump began to show. I'm no Lucy Bresnahan, I tell myself. Then again, I am following him out of the room, so I suppose we're equally guilty of generating high school drama giggle time. And honestly, I don't care. For the first time in a long time, I really don't give a tumbling turd what other people think of me. As soon as we're out of the lounge and in the silent hall, we've got nothing to say. We walk side by side like we have 100 times before, but this time we're silent. Conversation has never been hard for us. We kind of just flow, but the tension between us, positive as it might be, is generating enough mental feedback that I can't think of a damn thing. Our hands bump into each other as we walk. When it happens again, I flinch and laugh. This is totally high school. It's fucking ridiculous, he says, smiling. Then he reaches out, offering his hand. I take it. Silence descends again, but this time it's not awkward, it's content. We need to have a conversation. That's clear now, but it's not going to happen tonight. We arrive at his quarters 5 minutes later. Just a sec, he says, letting himself in. You're not going to invite me in? You've already seen the place, he says. I mean, you broke in earlier to abscond with my sex doll. I step inside, uninvited, while Stone digs through his closet. He's not the neatest man in the world, but it's been a while since he felt the need to impress anyone. Despite being one of the best operators in the military, his fate has been on the fast track to nowhere, and I know why. Am I jealous of the general's daughter? Sure, but that was in the past, and from what I've heard, not even a casual fling. What we've got been a slow brew. It could last, I tell myself, but I have no idea how. One of us would have to give up something, even after losing everything. Then again, maybe we'd be horrible together in real life, outside the weird bubble that is Space Force. At first, we rubbed each other the wrong way, but time has worn away the rough edges of our relationship that began professionally, morphed into a friendship, and now, because time is fleeting, is being shunted into something more. But is it something good? When Stone emerges victorious, a bottle of Maker's Mark 46 bourbon whiskey in hand, I give him a smile that says a bit more than I'm happy. He holds the bottle high. Our champion emerges from the slough of despond, trophy clutched in. He sees the look in my eyes. The bottle lowers and then drops to the bed. He steps closer, our faces inches apart. I'm not sure this is a good idea, I manage to whisper. I'm not sure I care. Neither do I. I take a step back. He steps forward. We're drunk, I say. Are we? He glances at the liquor. I mean, yet? You've never thought about this when we complete you've never thought about this when completely sober? I take another step back, and he closes the distance again. Oh my god, this is rape culture. You heard it here, folks. This is rape culture in action. Just remember, Space Force promotes rape culture. Okay, carrying on. Are you talking about screwing or something more? I ask. He smiles. Are those things mutually exclusive? They are not, I say, stepping back again, this time being stopped by his dresser. He's cornered her. So, this is big then? Like game changer big? Like we'll need to have a long talk in the morning big, I say. Yeah. Some guys would bullshit their way through this moment just to get in a lady's pants, but Stone is not one of those men. For all his bluster and sarcasm, he's a noble man at heart. I trace an invisible line with my index finger, an inch away from my smiling lips. Move past here, and you're in it to win it, soldier. He glances down at my chest. Just to be clear, there are parts of you already crossing that line. If they're fair game, maybe I'll just... Ethan, I say, using his first name and smiling wider at his nervousness. His deflective humor is a miserable attempt at hiding his "I'm caught off guard" when his lips press against mine. We both tense up for a moment and then relax, lingering in a slow embrace, lip locked and unmoving. After a moment, we separate slowly. When a tendril of spit connects our lips, Stone wipes it away and offers a gentle gross. Our laughter is interrupted by the sound of a blaring horn. In the city, we might not have noticed the sound, but on the Portsmouth Island, where the population is under 10, the honk is out of place and unwelcome. Stone splits his blinds and looks out into the circular parking lot. "The hell is this?" he asks. Outside, a fleet of 18-wheelers is arriving from across the lone bridge connecting us to the mainland. "They said we had until tomorrow," he grumbles, and then he looks down at his watch. "Assholes." He holds his wrist up so I can see the time. It's 12:30 a.m. Tomorrow has officially arrived, but them coming to evict us in the early morning hours is a dick move of unparalleled proportions. "Who would do this?" "Big nasty," he says. "You think he's still carrying a grudge?" "Honestly, I think he was jealous either of me or his daughter. I'm not sure which. The man's a pariah, the kind of limp-dicked asshole people only follow because he's in a position of power, not because he's an inspirational or even a competent leader. He's what you'd expect if Satan dropped a deuce. A rabbi took excrement and fashioned a shit golem, and then named him McNasty. McNally," says a deep, aged voice from the doorway, "and while people in low positions of power might think those unsavory things about me, others who have core values of common sense and decency understand that I am a fair and balanced man beyond reproach." Do you ever see, um, what's it called? Um, Malcolm in the Middle. Do you ever see that one guy that was in charge of the boot camp? Yeah, that's what this reminds me of. You know who I'm talking about if you know anything about Malcolm in the Middle. All right. I lean to the side, looking around Stone, who has closed his eyes and kept his back turned to the door. A short man wearing spectacles and a general's four-star uniform stands in the doorway, hat tucked under his arm. I snap a salute, and it is not returned. "No longer necessary as of 2400, you are no longer a member of the United States Armed Forces, and as such, I must ask that you remove yourself from the—" "Horse and shit," Stone says. "You could at least face me while you disrespect me," McNally says. "I can't," Stone says. "I'm waiting." "For?" the general asks. "If you must know, I'm still sporting a partial. You kind of interrupted a moment here. Another conquest?" "Jasmine wasn't a If you're referring to my daughter, her name was Sarah." "Ooh, he killed his daughter." "Not even close," I grumble, nudging Stone with my elbow. Stone adjusts his pants and turns around, standing awkwardly. "I might not know her name, but there are a few things I do know about your daughter which you, good sir, do not." My eyes widen as the general's words sink in and are digested by my inhibited mind. "The first is that she's a certifiable freak in the—" My elbow slammed into Stone's ribs, replacing his diatribe with a sharp "ow." I lean in close and whisper, "He said was. Her name was Sarah." Stone swallows, purses his lips, and furrows his brow. "Uh, sir, is Sarah?" I say. "Sarah? Is she okay? I mean, is she alive?" McNally shakes his head. "She's married with 3 kids. Idiots, all of you. You have 30 minutes to collect your belongings and get off my base." "What?" Stone says, his dander rising again. "You can't just— Your other option is the brig." 2 MPs step into the view behind him. 30 minutes. A bus is waiting to take you all to the mainland." I glance out of the window and spot a big yellow bus waiting down in the parking lot. If you need to tell your tales of woe, there's plenty of press waiting for you on the far side. Press? Are you trying to humiliate us? Stone asks. I mean, I know why you don't like me, but the rest of these people haven't done anything to you. My presence here at this ungodly hour, and the presses has nothing to do with me and everything to do with you. The moment you decided it was a good idea to broadcast your drunken party to the end, you sealed your fate and forever tainted the people's view of Space Force. What are you talking about? I ask, and then I turn to Stone. What is he talking about? But Stone is just as dumbfounded as I am. Maybe it was Billy, Stone asks. The general grunts, sighs, takes out his phone, switches it on, and turns it around. A static view of a video game. On screen, Stone Castle lies dead on the grassy hillside. The final scene from Stone's earlier game. McNally taps his volume button. As the sound grows louder, we can hear Megaforce in the background, coupled with Tailor and Quaid singing the Captain Planet theme song. My mind races in reverse, playing back the night's conversations. I clutch my eyes and force myself to stop thinking. If I remember too much, I'll end up on the floor, drooling in a brain-dead fetal position. Stone looks pale and mortified, but then he cracks a slight smile and leans in a little closer. Huh. What? I ask, hoping he'd tell me that the feed is only available locally. He points at the phone. 2 million viewers. That's... When I shrink in on myself, his voice trails off. 30 minutes, McNally says, his voice followed by the sound of his feet stomping away. I'm sorry, Stone whispers. I didn't know. When he puts his hand on my wrist, I pull it away. After a moment, he says, I'll let you pack. I'll go tell the others. He stands and backs away toward the door. See you on the bus? When he starts to close the door behind him, I say, Stone? Yeah? He says, sounding hopeful. I'm in your room. Right, he says, eyes splitting about. I've never seen him so undone and miserable, but he deserves everything he's feeling. Um, and then some. My self destruction has been live streamed to the world because of him. No one will hire me now for anything. Who's going to want a joke for a sensei? He leaves the door open and then pushes his way past the two MPs who have stayed behind to gawk. Despite what I've just said, I close the door behind Stone, lock it, and melt into his bed, hiding from the world and wondering if that kiss still holds any meaning. All right, that's that's good for today. I've read enough chapters. All right, I don't know if you enjoyed it. Probably not. It's not the best book. It's clearly trying to stay relevant with all these contemporary references. But if you want to blame anyone, blame the author of this book, Space Force. Google it. I don't have the time to look up the name, and I don't want to go back and look it up. But just Google it, and then bitch at the author for the writing, or bitch at Hannah Sachs. Just look up Hannah Sachs, and if you find someone with the name Hannah Sachs and a raccoon avatar, you know to bother them. Okay. All right. Thank you. Good night. Bye bye.